Hello, welcome back to Immense Data Dimension. This demo session is continuation to my previous session, Talent for Big Data Part 1. From this slide, we are going to explore on infrastructure requirement to install Talent Studio and prior requirements to learn Talent and what are the GUI tools basic knowledge is required to design job in a Talent Studio. Now let us have a look on the infrastructure requirements for Talent Studio installation. So you need 4 GB physical RAM, 3 GB hard disk drive, and recommended operating system by Talend is Windows 7 Professional or Linux Ubuntu. Apple's Mac OS also supported, but right now I am using Windows 10 Home Edition, and I also tried CentOS 7. Both are working good. So far I haven't faced any issues. Talend jobs execution in the either in Windows 10 Home Edition or CentOS, both are working good. And coming to software, as such, Talend execute jobs on Java Virtual Machine. We have to provide Java 8 runtime engine environment information to Talend. So this is how you will provide the JRE information. Underneath the window preferences, you have to go to the Java and underneath install JREs, you have to provide the JDK installation directory, physical directory of JDK installation path, and you have to double check whether the compiler is pointing to 1.8 or not. Okay, that is how you will assign the Java runtime engine to the Talend Studio. And coming to the network, so network connectivity with a properly installed and configured Hadoop cluster. So to establish a Hadoop connectivity between Hadoop cluster and Talend Studio, you need to have information about 4 daemons, which are name node, resource manager scheduler, and job history server. So in my case, all these 4 daemons are running on HTTP1. Let me show how do you verify how do you get the information about these 4 daemons. So in the Hadoop cluster connection, you have to double click this, and here you will see name node URI, resource manager scheduler, job history. So from here I am going to collect the information about respect to either IP address or host name. So name node, resource manager scheduler is hosted on HTTP1. Job history server is hosted on HTTP2. So to verify the network connectivity between Talend Studio hosted client machine and Hadoop cluster, what you have to do is you have to execute a ping command with HTTP1, ping HTTP1. I am getting reply from HTTP1. Let me try with HTTP2, ping HTTP2, because the job history server is hosted on HTTP2. I am getting reply from HTTP2 also. So it means that my client machine have good network connectivity with the Hadoop hosted nodes. Okay, this is how you will check the network connectivity between the Hadoop cluster and Talend Studio hosted client machine. Excuse me. And coming to prerequisites to learn Talend for big data is fundamentals of computers, SQL, Linux commands, and conditional statements, if then else. Okay, so these 4 things is required for basic developer profile. With these 4 skills, anyone can learn Talend for big data. People who come from the database background or ETL background may think that Java hands-on experience is mandatory to learn or work on Talend for Big Data Studio. That is not correct. So once in a while, when the business requirement is beyond your existing tool functionality, in such particular cases only you may have to write custom code routines using Java classes and methods. Other than that, most of the times you will be working on designing jobs only. So once in a while, when the given business requirement is beyond the tool limitation, then you have to write the custom code routines. Okay, that is about Java programming experience, mandatory or not. And coming to Talend tool, GUI and basics. So here the very first thing we have to talk is what is workspace. So it is a physical directory which is located in the Talend application directory. So let me reopen this. There you will get the initial window. You can see how the connection will get the information about the workspace directory. So here this connection is pointing to this workspace directory. As I said before, workspace directory is a physical directory which is located in the Talend application directory. So this TOS BD 2006 and so on, so version 6.2.1 is the application directory of Talend installation, and underneath that it is creating a workspace directory. Okay, and I'm trying to connect to local project. This is a project directory inside the workspace. Okay, let me show workspace directory. So here inside the workspace it has created local project directory. So whatever the jobs I created, whatever the connections I created using this local project directory, it will store all the information inside the local project directory, which is part of workspace directory. Basically whatever you create, all the Talend jobs and configurations, connections will be saving inside a physical directory. Inside the physical directory of workspace, it is creating another directory called local project directory, and there it is saving all your information. See, in the local project you are seeing all the information in big data, Hortonworks, and metadata about your jobs. All these things will be stored underneath the local project tree, which is part of workspace directory. The high level, at any point of time, your metadata will be stored in the workspace, which is the high level directory. Underneath that, based on your requirement, you will create multiple projects. Okay, that is all about workspace. So what is project? The next topic in this slide is what is project. So project is a set of jobs and involved metadata. It is defined under a subfolder inside the workspace. So yeah, it is coming up. It will take probably 30-40 seconds. So it is loading all the required classes. Okay, so now I connected to local project. Okay, whatever I create in this design workspace, Talend will store respective metadata information in the local project directory inside the workspace. Okay, and next topic, and let us see how to create and delete or import projects in the Talend. So to change the project or to go to the workspace area, you have to choose this option, switch project or workspace. Okay, so yeah, now I'm going to show how to create a project. So if you take the create new project option, here you have to provide the name, test create project. So I'm giving the option create. Okay, now the project has been created and the respective directory should be created under the workspace. Test create project directory is created a minute ago. Okay, that is how you will create the new project. And how to import a demo project. So these demo projects are uh, part of Talend configurations. So if you want to see the demo of either data integration project or big data demo project, you have to choose this option and select. If you want to go with big data demos, you can say finish. It will ask the project name. So since local project is already existed, you have to give the new name. Excuse me. I was given local project underscore big data project. Okay, so now it is creating an entry inside the workspace, local project underscore bd project. Okay, and how to import an existing project. Excuse me. So now, since I am using Talend Open Studio, I cannot see the jobs which were created by some other person who is part of the same team. So what he will do is he will export his project as a zip file, and he will share it in a directory. So I want to import that work into my workspace area, and I want to see some jobs. In that scenario, what I have to do is import an existing project and go to the select tab. Here you have to choose either it is an archive file or root directory. So I choose the archive file. So now excuse me, it is routed to some other directory. Rather than that, I should go here. So here this old project is an exported one. So I selected that. Here I have to enter old project imported. Okay, now as soon as I say finish, it will create an entry in the workspace, old project imported. Okay, that is how you will create the old project. And now I want to delete an existing project from the workspace. For that, what you have to do is click on the manage connections and go to delete existing projects, and here whatever the projects you want to delete, choose those options. Now I want to delete test create project and local project bd project, old project imported. Okay, so as soon as I say okay, it will delete logical entry of these projects from the workspace, and as well as it will delete the physical directories also. But if your intention is to delete only logical entries and you want to keep the directories, physical directories as is, in that case you have to go with do not delete physical projects. If you choose this, it will delete only the logical entries of projects from the workspace. It will keep the physical directories as is. Okay, that is how you will create and delete and import existing projects. And the next point on the slide is type of repository connections to connect Talend Studio. So Talend supports two types of repository connections, local and remote repository connections. First, let us talk about local repository connections. So here this is a local repository connection. So now I am doing manage connections. So here you are providing the username and workspace directory. So local connection will always refer the data in the local space. You cannot share this information with another person who is working on the same project. So with local repository connection, your Talend Studio always referring to metadata from local workspace using local connection. So one cannot share work with the coworker or another developer who is working for the same project. So it is kind of a standalone offline metadata. No code sharing is possible with local connections. And what is remote repository connections? So remote repository connections is available only with Talend Enterprise version only. So using remote repository connection, you can share your code to entire team in your project, or after you check in your code, some other person from either offshore or on site can apply his changes to your latest code version. Basically, team sharing is possible with remote repository connections. To connect a remote repository connection, you need to collect list of four things from either Talend administrator or code owner. Okay, just for information, I copied this from the enterprise edition. So this is how you will create the remote repository connection. So here you will choose remote in the manage connections window. For an open source you don't have that option, but if yours is a enterprise edition, you can choose from the manage connections, you can choose the remote connection. As soon as you choose remote connection, you will get prompt of multiple options, like what is the name of remote connection and user email name and user credentials, password for the user email, and workspace will be as is. Local connection also you will be having workspace, and remote repository connection also you will be having workspace. So initially, Talend will store all the changes into the workspace. When you do code check-in, it will write the latest changes to the respective piece of code in the remote repository where it is stored in the SVN repository. Okay, and coming back to the four list of things, you need user email, name of the remote connection, and password, web application URL. So web application URL is a combination of Talend administrator center hosted mission along with port number, and you also need Java class or Talend administrator to create the connection to the remote repository. So using these four parameters, Talend will establish a remote connection to the administrator center. Talend administration center will enable you to use the SVN repository using this remote repository connection. So that is how you will work with remote repository connections. And yeah, next topic on this slider is graphical user interface tools and features. So when you open Talend Studio, the very first window what you see on the interface is nothing but main window. Let us wait for 10 seconds. It will take 10-15 seconds to finger. Okay. So this entire interface what we are seeing is nothing but main window. So the main window is the interface from which you can manage all types of data integration processes. So from here you can access repository tree view, configuration tabs, palette, toolbar menu, and like outline window, code viewer, all these things you will be accessing from main window. And let us talk about the toolbar. Okay, so toolbar is a combination of multiple buttons in the top of the tool. So suppose if you want to search a job in entire repository, so what you can do is, if you click on this, you will get a prompt window. Here you can put your job name and you can look for the job where it is existed. So using the search window you can search for your job, and using this run you can execute the list of jobs or executed before. Okay, using the run command you can execute the jobs which were executed already in this Talend Studio. Using this create window, you can create new jobs, or you can create connections, you can create routines, or any schemas, all this stuff you can create underneath this create tab. Okay, if you want to edit some project settings, you have to click on this and it will take you to the project settings. Now I am interested to add some more information in the palette, so I'm taking designer and palette settings. So here in technical, this array and array line is not available in the technical window. Okay, I want to add array in the technical. I will just select it and click on this arrow. It will take the T arrow to the palette area. If I say OK, it will save it, but just for information only I thought of sharing it. That's the reason I am resetting back. This is how you will add the new things into the palette. And the next window on this toolbar is, suppose some source or target object schema is changed in the respective design in the database. You want to know what are all the jobs got impacted, and accordingly you want to apply the respective changes into the Talend jobs. So for that, if you click on this, it will analyze all the jobs which got latest changes impacted in the list of jobs. So here it is showing this job got impacted because of this file changes. Okay, so similarly all this jobs will show respective information. This job got impacted because of this HDFS output schema change. So if you want to update, you can update it, but for now I am not updating it, I am just cancelling it. And the next tab is, if you want to export a project folder as a zip file, click on this and which will take you to the workspace which has all the project folders information. From here you can select and export the project directory as a jar file. In the similar way, you can import some demo projects to the local project directory. And using this export item, you can export a standalone job as a jar file which can be imported to another studio environment. And using import items, you can import the jar file, job jar file into Talend Studio, so that you can bring other environments job into your Talend Studio environment. So this is how you will work with the toolbar menu. Excuse me. And next topic on the list is repository tree view. So repository tree view gathers all the technical items that can be used to design jobs. So underneath the repository tree view, you are seeing job designs, code routines, and SQL templates, metadata, database connections, all other Hadoop connections, and repository schema, file schemas. All this information is available underneath the repository tree view. So it gives access to any item, including job designs as well as reusable routines. So to create jobs, you can drag all the required information from here to designer workspace. Okay, so this is a centralized area to store all the reusable information. Repository tree view will store all the reusable information. Excuse me. And next topic on the slide is designer workspace. So once you have centralized like connection or schema information and routines is available in the repository tree view, and you want to create a job using the centralized repository information. For that, you should need a space to create that job, or you want to edit an existing job. So as soon as you click on the job, it will bring up a space over here where you can edit an existing job, or you can create a new job, or Okay, that is how you will. So this designer space is a working area to add or to create new jobs. So inside the designer workspace you have two windows, designer window and code window. So in designer tab it displays the job in a graphical user interface. Okay, and in code view, which will enable you to visualize the code. Okay, as soon as you click on the code, it will bring up respective code for the given designer GUI interface. Okay, this is how it will generate the respective Java code for the given design. Okay, and next topic on the slide is palette. So once the designer workspace is open, you want to add more components to your job. So at the top of your designer workspace you will see this palette. This is useful to bring up new technical components into your job. So now I am interested to bring some file output delimiter component to the job. Just I have to drag like this, or you can just click on this, and you have to click on like this, click on the job workspace like this, and later you can create connectivity between the existing data flow, and accordingly you can build your logic. So that is the use of palette. And next topic on the slide is configuration tabs. So configuration tabs are located in the lower half of the design workspace. This is the design workspace, right? So lower half of the designer workspace you have all four configuration tabs. By default these are the four configuration tabs will be available. If you want to know some job information, in the job configuration tab you will get all this information, what is the version, and any description and purpose of this job. This kind of information will be available underneath the job. And if you want to add some context variable to bring the reusability and argument driven job execution, for these type of executions you have to add context variables. So using context configuration tab you can add the context variables. And coming to component, suppose you want to change some options like delimiter from colon to comma. So this window you have to select the component, and it will bring the respective component properties underneath the component configuration tab. Here you can change the properties. Okay, and if you want to execute job, and if you want to execute job with customized JVM arguments, so from the run window you can put the JVM arguments underneath the advanced settings. Okay, use specific JVM arguments. So here you can specify whatever the customized arguments you want to pass. Okay, so apart from these four configuration tabs, you want to bring any new configuration tabs to this area, you have to go to window, show view, and here I want to put the problems tab into the configuration tabs area. So I will go to the Talend, and this is the problems tab. I just select it and say OK. Now it brought the problems tab into configuration tabs area. Excuse me. And right after configuration tabs you have outline and code viewer is listed on the PPT. So now this is an outline. Okay, what is the use of outline? So outline will display a detailed information about the open job in the designer workspace. So right now the product file read job has been opened in the designer workspace. It has list of some 7-8 components in this job. So as soon as you click on the outline, it will show the list of components is available in the respective job which is placed on the designer workspace. And outline will also give the information about the characteristics of the each and every component. For example, this T file input delimited has two characteristics. One is error message and NB line name, NB line. So as part of your design, you want to put some checking parameters, like if the source file has more than 1000 records, you want to change the sequence of execution. So using global map variables, and you can drag it over to the code area, where you can use this NB line to determine how many number of records is coming from the product file. So these kind of characteristics information also available from the outline window. And coming to code viewer, so code viewer provides lines of code generated for the selected component. So here I had selected source file, product source file. So it will display, the code viewer display the respective code which is being generated for the one particular component. For each component it will show separately. So if I select hash output, it will show the respective code for the hash output. That is the use of code viewer. And I already given the information about Windows show view to bring up the new configuration tabs. That's all about the GUI tools and features. And now the next point on this slide is metadata. So how to create connections, like centralizing connections. Excuse me. So now I'll go ahead and show you how to create database connection and how to create a reusable repository schema for the file, and how to create a cluster, Hadoop cluster connection. Before I create, I'm going to delete existing connections, so that DB connections, there are no DB connections. Okay, I have to delete it from recycle bin also. Okay, so now I'm going to create a reusable schema for a delimited file. Now I have some set of files in the downloads. So here I have some set of files. I am creating schema for the coupon rediment flat file. For that, what I have to do is I have to right click on file delimited and create file delimited. Here I have to provide the name. Okay, from here you have to browse the directory where the file is resided. So copy the location of the file. So coupon rediment. Okay, I just selected. Now it is showing the sample of that file. So it has a header information and it is a comma delimited file. In the next window I have to choose the properties for that. So by default it is using semicolon, rather than that I have to use comma, and by default header is not header record is not yet selected. Now I am selecting header and I am saying configuration to the very first record is a header record. So accordingly, if I do the refresh view, it should show from second record onwards. So unfortunately it was selected the second record, so that is the reason I am refreshing it again. Excuse me. See, as per the given configuration information, it is taking the very first record as a column headers, and from second row onwards it is treating remaining everything as a data. Okay. Okay, so now metadata also got imported into the repository schema. Now I should say finish. All the 4 columns is placed in the sequential order. Finish. So the file coupon rediment has been created and metadata for them is 4 columns. Okay. And in the similar way I'm going to show how to create Oracle connection. Create connection. Here I have to give connection name for a user connection underscore xe. Xe is the SID. So here you have to select the database type. For Oracle, several types of connections is supported, but in this particular scenario I am going to use Oracle with SID. That's the reason I am selecting Oracle with SID, and login should be aura underscore user, and password I am giving password, and server IP address which is hosted on the local machine, right? So I should say IP config this is the one. Okay, so XE is the service name, SID. Check the connection. Yeah, it is, connection has been created successfully. So I just created a connection for the Oracle instance. Now I want to import some Oracle table schema into Talend repository tree. Now you have to right click on this, retrieve schema, and say next. So underneath your user or a user, you should be able to see some tables. Aura user has this list of tables available. So I am taking demo customers and I am checking the connection. It is retrieving the schema for demo customer. So it is retrieving schema. So I changed the table name because it has some problem, some read or write privileges. So that's the reason I choose another table. So here it has 3 columns. So I'm just saying finish. It will create the respective schema underneath the table schema. It has 3 columns. Okay, this is how you will create schema information for the database. This is how you will centralize the schema for the database. And the next thing is Hadoop. How do I create Hadoop connection? So right click on Hadoop cluster and create Hadoop cluster and give the name. Mine is Hortonworks, that is the reason I am giving Hadoop, and version is 2.4 and clstr underscore connection. Yeah. Now you have to choose the distribution. My cluster is Hortonworks That is the reason I am choosing Hortonworks. And rather than giving manual configuration information, I am just retrieving configuration from Ambari. I choose the option to retrieve configuration from Ambari. Okay, here I have to provide the IP address. Okay, my IP address for HTTP1 is, or I would say HTTP1 also will work. So I have to connect the Ambari. It got connected. Discover the clusters is HTTP 2.4 cluster. So as soon as we fetch, it will import all the configuration information into the Talend. Okay, it already imported all the information into Talend. So I will say finish. It is importing all the respective information from the Ambari into Talend. Okay, now I have to provide the Unix user. Username must be specified. So I am providing a Linux user which has access to Hadoop cluster. So I am giving username dev underscore user1. This is the Linux account. Based on this Linux account, I am establishing this connection. I am checking the service. So it is sending a request to name node and resource manager to check the connectivity. And as soon as you say finish, it is ready to use. It were imported all respective connections for Hive, hcatalog, UZI and HDFS. Now I want to retrieve the schema for a HDFS file. What you have to do is right click on the HDFS connection and retrieve schema. Okay, here in underneath the user, dev user, I have this join input. These two files is available in the HDFS layer. So I am just selecting forum users file. It is saying pending, so it is gathering information for that file. Okay, so now I have to do this. That's it. It is saying only one column, but it is not correct. So actually that HDFS file which I selected is a TSV, tab separated file, but by default HDFS connection is using semicolon as the separator. That is the reason it was showing only 0 columns, means 1 column. Okay, now I changed it to tabulation, means tab separated. If you use this connection, now you should be able to see multiple columns. Retrieve schema. See, it brought 5 columns now. See, total 5 columns is there. That is how you will retrieve the schema of the HDFS file. Okay, that is all about metadata, how to centralize the connections. And next topic on this PPT is what is connection and type of connection and need of connection links. So in the designer workspace, you are bringing source objects from the repository schema and components from the palette, and targets also you are pulling it from repository tree. But once you place all these components, you have to establish some data pipeline connectivity between the components and the source and target objects. For that you have to use the connections. So coming to connections, you have two type of connections. For data processing, you have main type, which will it is a pipeline to transfer the data between the components. And another one is logical sequence. So based on the one particular evaluation result, you want to trigger some other job execution, or you want to fail the job. These kind of things you can do using trigger connections. Okay, so there are two type of connections. One is main. Underneath main, again several type of connections available, like reject flow, and output, and unique, and iterate. So yeah, underneath main there are several type of further connections also available. And coming to trigger connections, so when you want to execute further flow based on the execution status of the prior sub job. So now you can see that on sub job, okay, I am initiating this T Java component. Okay, so here if you choose trigger, you have these 5 options: on component, okay, on component error, on sub job, okay, on sub job error. So based on the execution status of prior job or prior component, you can change the logical sequence using trigger connections. That is the role of connection types in the Talend. And now I am going to execute a sample job which were designed and already created in the studio. So these top 5 seller stores. So in this job, what I am doing is I am reading data from transaction file, and I am finding sum of sale based on the store. Okay, let me show the file. Transaction file. So this is the metadata for the transaction file. So I am taking only 2 columns, store ID and sales value, to identify which stores is making good sales. So using store ID, I am identifying sum of sales per each store ID. Accordingly, I am applying a sorting in the descending order to identify the top 5 seller stores. And in the T map, I am creating a rank using sequence, and I am putting a filter condition where the rank is less than or equal to 5. Okay, accordingly it is writing only the top 5 seller stores information into the target file. Okay, so my transaction data file is available in the downloads directory. This is the one, and it is at the end results is being writing into this directory, target files. Okay, so in the previous execution it was already created. Now I am deleting it. Okay, so I'm going to execute this job to generate top 5 sellers store information from the transaction data. Okay, so I'm going to execute using run. top 5 seller stores, or you can press F6. Now I am executing using this run job. Okay, now it is executing. Okay, so from the transaction source file, aggregator made it to some 1 million records. No, not 1 million, 1 lakh record, 1 lakh some change records. So based on the group by 2.7 million, 27 lakhs, yeah, 2,71,000 records got changed to, reduced to 1,08,000 some change records, and accordingly uh, it sorted all the records. And here in the T map, a variable assigned a rank, and in T map I am filtering out and taking only 5 records. That is the reason T map is giving only 5 records as output and writing the same results to a flat file in the given directory over here. So that is how the result file has been generated in the targets directory. So these 5 stores is generating top revenues. Okay. Okay, so that's all I have for this demo session. And if anybody interested to learn Talend for big data, you may call me at 7799122206. The people who are calling from outside India, you may have to add 91, or you can go ahead and get my contact information from this www.immensedatadimension.com. Underneath about us, you can find my contact information and email ID also. I recently got certified in Talend. If anybody want to get some guidance on Talend certification, also I can give some guidance how to read and how to clear the test. This kind of information also I can provide. Okay, that's all I have. Yeah, thanks for watching my demo on Talend for big data. My name is Lakshman Tulipala. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.